I hope you are online right now. And thank you so much for inviting me for this August event. So, during this talk, we are going to discuss about what is the reality behind. One of the reasons why we are doing this topic is we always think that Ayurveda is limited to some aspects of low back pain or neck pain or some arthritis conditions or certain aspects of digestive disorders. People are having constipation. We are not really even scratching the surface, I mean, the tip of the iceberg, what is the real potential of Ayurveda. Now, today, let us understand because when I joined Ayurveda college, I was joined because due to certain aspects from my family, but after I joined, I see that many people were joining Ayurveda because they were not able to become an allopathic doctor or a Western medicine doctor. And then they realize if they got an opportunity to get an upgrade in the next year or second year to join Western medicine, it would be one of their greatest dreams. Because we always respected Western medicine, and which is true because it is only because of Western medicine the emergency system, emergency medical care has given so high, and which is one of the best today in the world right now. But what is happening is in the process of appreciating Western medicine, we literally did not realize to what extent is Ayurveda going to be beneficial. Now, let us understand as a layman, I'm sure many Ayurvedic doctors are listening to this. As a layman, let us understand what is the origin of Western medicine? From where did this Western medicine concept come up? What is the background? Like Ayurveda has its roots in many philosophies, like Sankhya philosophy, it is one of them. So, like, what is the background behind Western medicine? Let us try to understand that. Now, Western medicine have this concept called as germ theory. Now, the germ theory is something that is conceptualized by Louis Pasteur. Now, Louis Pasteur, he was in the medieval period, later than the medieval period, and not exactly during the medieval period. During his time, there were a lot of infectious diseases happening in his region. So when we say about infectious diseases, whenever people were falling sick, he would take their body fluids and look into their body fluids, and he sees that there are lots of microbes. Now, microbes are things like bacteria or virus or fungus. Any of the microbes can be considered. So he saw that whenever people are falling sick, their body fluids are having microbes. So he came up with the conclusion that germs are the cause of the disease. And the only way we can be healthy is we have to kill or do something to eliminate the microbes. Now that is how the whole concept of antibiotics came, which is fantastic, which completely help the humanity uh, improve the longevity of humans because many people were dying because of infectious diseases and that helped. But now let us really analyze what is the logic behind this germ theory. Is it really true or something that we really need to question? Now imagine you have a house, and in your house there is the person who is coming to collect the waste that is produced every day. There could be food waste, there could be many other paper waste, plastic waste. There are so many other waste that can be produced in a home depending on our utility that is happening in the home. So every time there is a waste that is produced, it has to be recycled quite frequently. Imagine this waste is not used for a very long period of time. Now, what can happen is there could be a lot of rats that can come into the home, and it will start eating these waste. And these rats will start running around the home, in even the neighborhood, and it will recycle all the waste around the places. Now, imagine a new guest is coming to your home and saying, "Oh my God, look at all the waste these rats are bringing. How can you let these rats?" Now he says that the only way, this new guest is saying that only way I can save your home from getting polluted so much like this is I have to kill these rats. He never saw from where these wastes are being produced. He only saw the rats are being circulated, rats are being surrounded, and it is running around and it is depositing all the waste. Now, this is the actual analogy that we can talk about from where this germ theory has come. Now, germ theory is something, it is not understanding from where these rats are coming. It is only saying that Rats are the cause of the pollution. See, in Ayurveda, the beauty of Ayurveda is there is a real cause of a disease and there is a triggering factor for the disease. The triggering factor, we call it as Nimitta Karana. Nimitta Karana is something that is not the real cause, but what is happening is in Western medicine, the triggering factor is also called as the real cause. So that is why symptomatic relief has become the way of prescription today. Now, symptomatic way of prescription, what is happening is, well, I'm not against symptomatic relief prescriptions, but what is happening in the symptomatic relief prescription is our immunity is never trusted and our immunity is put at stake. If you're constantly doing symptomatic relief, our immunity is of no use. See, our immunity is so fantastic, it is beyond the scope of our logic. And that is why, if you take Ashtanga Hridayam, if you take some of the concepts, it all talks about Mandagni is the cause of the disease. When our Agni is going down, that is when the possibility of disease is coming. Vyadhi Kshamatvam, the concept of how our ojas is there. How is our ability to fight a disease? That is our greatest asset when it comes to our vitality or health. Now, let us take another view. Now, we all are worried about the virus. Yes, virus is a reality. But no, if you take the concept of coronavirus, there is 0.0, it is less than 1% of fatality that is happening, which means this virus can go to 100 people and less than 1% would die. So, which means this virus is a reality. But why only less than 1% among the 100 people are dying? Because the other people's immunity is better, but this person's immunity is bad. And when you ask them from why is that immunity bad, we don't know. It could be many other reasons. And if you look at the history of Ayurveda, I'm not talking about the origin of Ayurveda. If you look at the chapters mentioned in Ayurveda, the first chapter, after the introduction, after Ayush Kamiyam, you have the first chapter is called as Dinacharya. Now, the reason why Dinacharya is the first chapter, not Nidanasthana or Chikilsasthana or the cause of the disease or the how to treat that, there is a scientific protocol or a reason why Dinacharya is coming first. That is because healthy habits is what makes a person's immunity the best. And we will discuss about treatments later. We will discuss about what are the causes of the diseases later. But first, let's talk about what it takes to be healthy, what it takes to uphold your immune system, what it takes to make sure that you are living a happy and healthy and vital life. Once we talk about that, then we can go to the subjects of what are the causes of disease. And then they talk about Roganutpadaniyam, the concept of Vegas. Now, this concept, we are yet to understand the depth. And we Ayurveda doctors, we have to make sure this is something that is going in every prescription. Like we always say, along with the prescription, Patya and what is a good lifestyle is an inherent part of an Ayurvedic doctor's prescription. If we forget that, then it is, we are just a glorified symptomatic relief herbal doctors or a herbo-mineral doctors. See, if somebody is having a high blood pressure and they were taking, let's say, beta blockers along with the new age diuretics mixed and allopathic medicine they are taking. And they say that they come to an Ayurvedic doctor and say that, I wish to get rid of this Western medicine prescription because it is giving me a lot of side effects and I'm feeling tired. Is there something herbal? And we give something like Sarpagandha. Then we are just a glorified we are just a glorified symptomatic relief doctors. Instead of giving a synthetic product, we are giving a herbal thing. But we are missing out the fundamental principles of treatment of Ayurveda. Now, this cause of the disease is his unhealthy lifestyle. Now, his unhealthy lifestyle is leading to Srodoroda. And that is not being changed. So, every good Ayurvedic doctor, if you see, he is a great counselor. He is a great psychologist. He always goes and takes efforts to change the lifestyle of a person. Like we check, we check the nadi, we check the jihva, we check all the other things, and we also need to ask him about what is his lifestyle, what is the kind of food that he is taking, and is he really into stress. Unless we understand that and go in detail about all these conditions and change that, then we are just prescribing a symptomatic relief. Now, let us understand, we spoke about this Louis Pasteur's germ theory, that antibiotics or germ is the cause of the disease. The only way we can heal a person is healthy is when the germs are eliminated. Now, let me give you an example. Now, I spoke to you about the virus issue. This coronavirus, it is less than 1% fatality, which means if it goes to 100 people, less than 1% could die. And that is because his immunity is at its complete stake. Now, what is actually creating this immunity? Let us go in detail with that. Now, if you take the Dinacharya, the first chapter, that is the first sloka that is mentioned is Brahme Muhurte Uttishte. Now, why is waking up, that is the first advice ever given in Ayurvedic textbook. It is about waking up early in the morning before the sunrise, or Brahma Muhurta. Brahma Muhurta, according to various translations and commentary, it is the ideal time is between 4:30 and 6. Now, why is this the first advice that is mentioned in Ashtanga Hridayam? Yes, we have the first chapter Ayushkamiyam, but the real advice that is told how to live a healthy life is waking up early in the morning after the previous night's food is digested. Now, let us go in detail about this and why every Ayurvedic doctor should follow this, and why we should also make sure that we are going to inculcate this in every patient. At least put the seeds into him. If he is going to sleep very late at night, and let us understand, Nisha Jagarana. The Western medicine is still yet to realize what are the complications of Nisha Jagarana. If you take Vadarakta, Nisha Jagarana is mentioned. If you take diabetes, Nisha Jagarana is mentioned. So there are so many diseases where Nisha Jagarana is one of the root causes. But we are just thinking, what is the big deal with Nisha Jagarana? Now, let us talk about this. Now, sleep, even in Charaka Samhita, the Trayopastambha aspect, it is mentioned, Nidra, Aharam, Brahmacharyam. Now, there is a sequence to this. First is Nidra, then Aharam, then Brahmacharyam. It is not that any of the three pillars of health and longevity, it comes with a sequence. Only after the first one is met, the second one will make sense. If your Nidra is not proper, but your Ahara is proper, even then it will not make sense. Only when the Nidra is proper, then Ahara will make sense, because the sequence has to go through that protocol. Now, let us understand why in Charaka Samhita, among the Trayopastambhas, Nidra is mentioned first, and why in Ashtanga Hridaya, the first advice that is told to live healthy and live with longevity and healthy is waking up in Brahma Muhurta. Now, let us understand this. Now, what happens when we sleep is, when we sleep, many of our body is relaxing, and it is one of the best Vata Hara Chikitsa. Sleep is fantastic. It completely brings down our excess Vata and it balances our Kapha. And it is also told that during sleep, the plaques that we form in our brain is also being released. Our whole body is going through a purification process when we sleep, because most of our physical activities are coming to a standstill. Now, today, if you take the modern Western medicine, 80% of the diseases that are mentioned in their textbooks are considered to be idiopathic in nature. Now, when you say idiopathic, it is 80% of the diseases are of unknown cause. Now, imagine if you do not know what is the cause of the disease, how can you give a right treatment? What's the difference between treating a disease of unknown cause and going to a casino or gambling? It is, okay, maybe we can give a symptomatic relief. The pain can be numbed, or some terminal thing can be arrested for some time. But if you are not able to really go to the root cause and understand what is the root cause and treat that, it is not a therapy, it's only a symptomatic band-aid solutions. Now, in Ayurveda, why sleep is mentioned so importantly in bold italics. The first chapter in Charaka Samhita also, it is mentioned in Trisraishiniyam, talking about the three foundations. Now, why it is so mentioned is, when our sleep is compromised, our life is compromised. And today, so many metabolic disorders, lifestyle disorders, all are happening because many people's sleep are being compromised. Now, let us go in detail When we say sleep is compromised, we all are told that a person needs about 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Now, is it just 6 to 8 hours of sleep, or do we have something like what time he has to go to sleep and what time he has to get up? But at least it is mentioned clearly, for a healthy person, he has to wake up early in the morning, and he has to get up after the previous night's food that he ate is digested well. So he's waking up very light. Now, what happens is many people today are going to sleep very late at night. And when you go to sleep very late at night, there is high possibility that we wake up quite late also. And when our sleep is compromised, usually what happens is it is proven that when a person is not sleeping for 24 hours continuously, his cognition ability when he's driving is as equivalent to a drunkard person who's driving, because our cognition comes down when our sleep is not there. Now, this is exactly what happens when our sleep is compromised. Our ability to comprehend, our ability to focus, our ability to memorize, long term memory is compromised, our ability to focus is compromised. When these two are compromised, what is happening is our tendency to eat unhealthy food goes up. When, okay, let's see, if let us say that somebody is not slept well, there's a high possibility we might need more coffee, and we might need more food that will nourish us, because we feel we need more energy, because without sleep our energy is compromised. So when more and more of this unhealthy food is going inside, that leads to ati yoga of many of our practices. Now, when this Ati Yoga is happening, that is where it leads to many Sroto Roda conditions. I have seen in my practice, one of the prescriptions, whenever I see a lifestyle diseases, be it diabetes, be it high blood pressure, be it many other conditions, including irritable bowel syndrome, in many conditions, I always make sure that we have to include how to get to bed on time, and the right time to go to bed at least 3 hours after the sunset, and that to make sure that they are having an early dinner. It is told that a person who goes to sleep early and a person who is waking up early in the morning, according to many researchers, including a research done in University of California, it is mentioned that people who wake up early in the morning, early risers, are more happier, more productive, and have better immunity, and they are less immune to anxiety and depression, and their energy is much better. Because when you wake up early in the morning, you are having a better metabolism than people who wake up very late. Now, imagine we say that 8 hours of sleep is important, but there is a difference. It is not just 8 hours of sleep, it is what time you go to sleep is also important. That is why the first advice sloka that is mentioned is Brahme Muhurte Uttishte. And this is one of the most underrated advice or we have just completely ignored the importance of this, and we think that giving some ashwagandha or sarpagandha or manasamitram gulika or certain other conditions will change that. Unless we change this, we take effort in changing a person's lifestyle into going to sleep early and waking up early, and then putting up into that lifestyle, everything is just going to be a symptomatic relief. And once that person goes to sleep on time and once he starts waking up, what happens is his tendencies for binge eating or craving extra sugar or unhealthy lifestyle, all of this will change. And when he eats food early in the night, what is happening? His bowel movements will get regular. Now, when people say, we have this concept, okay, some people are night owls, some people are early in the morning. Now, this night owl concept is something that is debatable. According to Ayurveda, if you stay awake late at night, you are going to have lots of conditions such as Vata Rakta. So, and we as a humans, according to the evolution, we are designed to go to sleep after the sunset. We are not someone who is supposed to stay awake at night. A night owl is different, but owls cannot focus in the daytime. Their ability to see is also different. So, when we go to sleep after the sunset and when we wake up in the morning, our Agni is balanced, our Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, all the three doshas are balanced, and our Mala Shodhana is also enhanced. See, the word Sharira, it is Chiryate Anena Iti Shariram, which literally translates that which keeps dying every moment, or that which is keeps eliminating waste every moment. So the moment our body is holding on to the waste, or we call it as ama, then our body's waste elimination is blocked. That means our Agni is going down. And that is why Sharira is what? It's a combination of dosha, dhatu, and mala. All the three things are having equal importance. It is not just dosha or dhatu, even mala is including. Only when these three things put together, you call it as Sharira. And eliminating waste is one of the vital aspects of life. If you take the meaning of Sharira, if the moment our body stops eliminating waste, we are a dead body. That's the difference between a living body and dead body. That is the beauty of this definition of Sharira. And then, if you take the Ashtanga Hridayam, we talk about Roganutpadaniyam. Very profound concept, which is talking about the urges of the body. We are talking about different Vegas. The more you suppress this, you will get into many irreversible or chronic diseases. And some of it, we call it as Udavarta. Now, let us try to understand what is happening in Udavarta. Now, if you try to understand the Vegas, what are Vegas? Vegas are the body's way of communicating what the body wants. See, hunger is the way body is communicating, I want to eat. Sleep is the way the body is communicating, I want to rest. Tears is the way the body is trying to communicate, I want to release some emotional baggage that is in my body. And coughing is the way coughing and sneezing is the way the body is communicating, I want to get rid of something that is stuck in my upper respiratory tract. It could be in the nose, it could be in the chest. When we hold this urge, we are not listening to this internal intelligence. For once it is okay, twice it is okay, but when we keep repeating this for a long period of time, then the body is holding on to the ama, the body is holding on to the toxin, the body is holding on to the mala. And remember the definition of the word Sharira. And when we are not eliminating, when the body is wanting it, when we keep on holding on to it, that is when many various other diseases that are happening. That is when the metabolism completely goes through a turmoil. So, as an Ayurvedic doctor, today we have to understand the lifestyle that we have designed today is in such a way that we don't care about the Vegas. We don't care about if the Vega is important. We don't care if we should eat on time. We don't care if we have to eliminate waste on time. And on top of that, yes, today we cannot sneeze, we cannot cough. Of course, we have to cover our face. It is already mentioned in Dinacharya about Satvrutam, healthy and hygienic ways of behaving in public. We have to cover everything. Yes, that is there. But what is happening is, majority of the diseases that you see today, it is because of stress related and lifestyle diseases. It is because of we are not listening to the Vegas that is inherent in our body. And that is why every time when an Ayurvedic doctor is meeting a patient, we always make it a point to regulate their bowel movements, because that is one of their Vegas. Because once your bowel movement is patterned in such a way that it is not being eliminated properly, then the body is holding on to the waste. Constipation, according to many sciences, they say it is the mother of many diseases. Yes, because once the waste elimination is blocked, the efficiency of the energy circulation in the body is coming to a standstill. That is also the beginning of Srodoroda. And that is what the word Udavartam means. If you look at the word Udavartam, it actually talks like a whirlpool. And what is a whirlpool? When the river is flowing, suddenly there is a dip in the river bed, and that dip is creating a certain waves, which is called as the whirlpool. Same way, this constipation is creating a whirlpool in the body coming from the Apana Vayu region and all the way up, which can also result in headaches. And that is why Vasti is considered as one of the most profound therapies in Ayurveda, because it helps to regulate the Vegas. And if you see Panchakarma, is written in the Sutra Sthana. Before we enter Nidana Sthana and Chikitsa Sthana, Panchakarma is already mentioned. And it is also important for us to understand. We in India, Western medicine is so popular and we worship allopathic doctors because they are life-giving. When somebody is dying, Western medicine is coming to life. But if you go to a first world country or where poverty is very less, where infectious diseases are very less, they are resorting to therapies like Ayurveda and yoga, because so many therapies, so many diseases, Western medicine is becoming an utter failure when it comes to autoimmune diseases. Western medicine doesn't know what to do. High blood pressure, all they can give is a beta blocker or a diuretic. They don't know how to deal with that. Diabetes, all they give you is a metformin. They don't know how to really deal with that. But in Ayurveda, it talks about so many lifestyle changes, so many dietary changes, and along with that, we are correcting our metabolism. And it's a holistic approach. This holistic approach is the foundation of Ayurveda. See, how to understand this Western medicine and Ayurveda. We have a car. Something goes wrong with the car, you take the car to a mechanic who will repair it. But you have a car, you want to enhance the functioning of your car. You want to put more speakers, you want to increase the horsepower. You take it to a person who will completely renovate your car and make it profound. You put a speaker, you put alloy wheels, you put leather seats, you increase the horsepower, you put many fancy things so that the experience of the car is much better. Now, that is what is Ayurveda, and that is why Panchakarma was written at that time, because it was written at a time when there were so many people who were suffering from diseases of Santarpana Vyadis. And if you take the population of India in the last 1 century, after the British left, our poverty was so high, we were having more diseases of Apatarpana Vyadis. And in Apatarpana Vyadis, this is where Western medicine is a magic. A person who is having so many of infectious diseases, Western medicine is God there. He is life giving. But once that part is eliminated, once the lifestyle is better, like the Abraham's Maslow theory, once the basic shelter, sanitation, hygiene, once these things are met, then there is a difference. You are having diseases of overconsumption. And in Ayurveda was written during that point of time when so many people were suffering from overconsumption disease, because the lifestyle was there was a lot of abundance at that time. But then later many invasions came and many things changed. But today what is happening is our society is also coming out of the poverty. But still the common man is thinking, if something goes wrong, Western medicine, because it will take some time. But sooner, this trend will change, because we have to realize health is not just about a symptomatic relief. It is much more than, it is protecting our Agni, it is protecting our Pradirodha Shakti. And that comes with a lifestyle, and that comes with our ability to reconnect with our body's intelligence. And that is why if we have to really incorporate Ayurveda into a patient's first thing is we have to incorporate the concepts of Dinacharya. Starting with waking up on time, starting with going to bed on time, having early dinners, eliminating unhealthy ama producing food. Now let us take the concept of ama. In many textbooks, I see that ama is told as that which is near to toxin. But let us take the nirupti of the word ama. It is so beautiful. The word ama, the word ma, the word ma nirupti, it is more like mama, me. The word a, like roga, arogya. The word a means it is negating. It is negating the roga. That is what is called as arogya. Same way, the a is negating me. So anything that we put inside the body, if that is not able to become a part of me, it is called as ama. This is what the definition of the word ama is. And that is what is called as toxin. Toxin is something that goes inside your body and we are finding it difficult to eliminate. And the purpose of Ayurveda, the word niramaya, eliminating ama, is what is calling it as that. So panchakarma or shamana or shodhana, it is all about eliminating of this ama, eliminating of this excess mala that our body is not able to do it naturally. So we are putting the body in a safe environment so that the elimination of the waste, it could be forcibly through the upper part, it could be forcibly through the downward part, it could be through vasti, or it could be through Vamana or Nasyam, or even through Viresanam, Raktamokshanam, whatever it is. Our ability is to bring in a lifestyle where we are producing least ama, and if there is ama, through our medications, we are eliminating this. And once we understand this, the body will take care of itself. I was reading a book. It was told that according to Ayurveda believes upholding your immunity is like pulling that one single thread. When you pull it, everything else will take care of itself. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. You see, our immunity is the best pharmacy that is ever devised. We produce our own sleeping pills. We have our own hormones that our body needs. We have our own painkillers that our body is releasing. We have our own endorphins, serotonins, all the things that we are buying from a pharmacy in a synthetic product. It is already produced in us, and the pharmaceutical company is only making a synthetic part of that. And we, as an Ayurvedic doctor, our ability is to make sure the inner pharmacy is uphold, it is transformed. And that is starting with lifestyle. The purpose is, let us not become a glorified symptomatic band aid person who is just prescribing, he's having high blood pressure, let us give him Sarpagandha or Manasamitra. He's having diabetes, let us give him Nisha Kadagadi Kashayam. He's having hemorrhoids, okay, let us give him Chiruvilvadi Kashayam. Let us go a little more beyond. Let us invest. Okay, if you are having 1 hour time with a patient, or let's say 15 minutes time with a patient, allocate 10 minutes once you take the case, maximum time allocate to changing his lifestyle. And along with that, when you are able to give that medications, that is when the medications will have a much more profound benefit. Now, as an Ayurvedic doctor, it is our moral duty that we have to make a person live in a healthy lifestyle. And that is why it is also mentioned Vyayama is important. We are talking about oil massage. And if you go to Western countries, now there are so many Western doctors who are learning about Ayurveda. They go for a 3 months course on Ayurveda, and now they start incorporating in that. And if you want, there are some neurologists who learn about Ayurveda and writes about Ayurveda in their practice, and they talk about how Ayurveda enhance their practice, especially when it comes to neurological diseases like Parkinson's, like multiple sclerosis, because Ayurveda talks about such profound ways. Today the Western world is waking up to this concept of gut and the brain concept, the concept of microbiome, the concept of how something goes wrong with the gut, it is impacting everything else in the body. And this is what Ayurveda is talking about. Once you correct the gut, once you correct the Agni, that will take care of everything else. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And this concept has been highly neglected in the Western medicine. It might take many more years for them to understand and bring into that. So, as an Ayurvedic doctor, along with giving a Ama Pachana, Deepana Pachana, it is very important we tell them what are the foods you have to eliminate. It is a must in our prescription what has to be eliminated. And if they are stressful, we also have to learn how to do the counseling first, and also tell them where are the aspects in your life that is creating the stress, what can you do to change that. Now let us talk about stress. And see, stress is, according to Ayurvedic approach, it is high Kevala Vata or high Vata increase. Now let us understand what happens when we get stressed. See, our human brain is designed about 200,000 years ago, and it was designed to protect us. I mean, the main purpose of our brain is survival, which means the moment I see some wild animal coming and chasing, I have to run and escape. There is a flight or fright response in the body. So the moment this stress is triggered, the body releases cortisol or stress hormone so that the major muscle mass is getting the energy. So once the major muscle mass is getting the energy, you can run and escape and survive. Now what is happening is, the same brain that was responding to a wild animal chasing by releasing cortisol, the same brain today is releasing this cortisol when we are stuck in the traffic, when we are rushing for the train or a flight, when we are realizing that I did not finish the project on deadline, when I realize that I'm not happy with what is happening around, when I read a news that is creating not healthy. So today, we have developed a life in such a way that our stress threshold has gone high, which means we are constantly living where our cortisol is being released. Now, this is why we see a lot of high vata conditions. Today one of the most scarce thing is our attention. Today, people are not able to focus because when the cortisol is released, our attention span goes down, our memory power goes down, and on top of that, when we are not sleeping well, recovery is not proper. See, if you read endocrinology, and by the way, I will come back to the endocrinology again. If you read endocrinology, what they say is whenever cortisol is released, the body has to immediately go through a restful recovery phase, which is the body has to take enough adequate rest so that whatever these stressful hormone is released, it has to get replenished. But if it is not replenished and if it is staying in the body, our immune system can completely get hampered. So that is where therapies like Shirodhara is so famous. Today, when you go abroad and talk about Ayurveda, oh, I heard about Shirodhara. What is happening in Shirodhara is it is like a greatest antidote for our cortisol release that is happening in our body. It completely calms down the nervous system. And you take diseases like high blood pressure. In Western medicine, it is called as diseases of unknown origin. But we know that how much stress is cooperating. Irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory gut disorders, hemorrhoids, fistula, they all have a lot to do with stress. And unless we tell them to change the lifestyle to eradicate stress, getting into healthy lifestyle, when they do Vyayama in Ardha Shakti, see, people think that Vyayama means I have to train for Olympics. It is not that. We have to do it for Ardha Shakti. After the Vyayama, you feel energized, not tired. And that is what you see two extremes. So this aspect, along with this Abhyangam is again another thing that we are not understanding the benefit. When you do an Abhyangam, okay, we read that Abhyangam, it helps for longevity, it improves the skin, it improves the blood circulation. But what is happening is, a parallel to blood vessels, when the blood circulation is happening, we have another organ called as the lymphatic drainage. Then what does the lymphatic system do? It collects the waste from the blood and it is eliminating through the skin. And skin is the largest organ in our body. And when a regular massage is done, what is happening is we are enhancing the lymphatic drainage. See, we have heart. Nature has designed heart exclusively for the circulation of the blood. But there is no one particular organ that is exclusive for the circulation of the lymphatic system. So a good oil massage, it not only nourishes the skin, it also eliminates unwanted lymphatic excess that is happening in the body. And that is why pranayama, also therapy such as pranayama, will also be helpful. See, di dhairyam atma di vijnanam. This has to become a part of our protocol. And today, what is happening is when people are having anxiety and depression, many people resort to this antidepressant pills. The moment they get into that, it is so difficult to come out of that. If you read the side effects of once they start taking antidepressants for a very long period, what happens is stopping that immediately could create tendencies of committing suicide. And on the other hand, you see a lot of people coming and saying, I am depressed, but still I'm taking antidepressant. And we are not realizing this. And that is where therapies of Panchakarma, not just the therapies of Panchakarma, even the therapies that are mentioned in Shamana, spending time in nature, spending time in the sun, spending time in the wind, walking and spending time in the water bodies. All these are mentioned with a lot of scientific reasons because all these are talking about recovery of our nervous system to eliminate the excess cortisol that is produced. And today we live in a constant rush. We are constantly distracted with lots of notifications. And see, in Charaka Samhita it is mentioned, Anutvam cha ekatvam. This is how our mind works. We are designed to focus one thing at a time. We are not focused to do it many things at a time. And today there is a new branch called as neuroplasticity, and which talks about multitasking is not true. Multitasking is actually you're focusing on one thing, but you're suddenly able to shift to another thing. But actually, you're only focusing on one thing. And when you are constantly doing that, it creates a lot of nervous drain. And that is why it is mentioned in Charaka Samhita, Anutvam cha ekatvam. We are able to focus only on one thing at a time. And today we live in a time where we are made to believe that, you can focus on many things. And we are constantly looking for this external stimulation. And when we constantly look for this external stimulation, so much of dopamine release is happening, and that is when our vata is going for a complete run. And that is why, you see, vata kala kaliyam. There is only one chapter for vata, but no one chapter for pitta or kapha. And handling this vata means we are able to handle the stress, or handling the stress is handling the vata. So that is why stress treatment is one of the greatest powers of Ayurvedic medicine. And unless we take that into our practice, we are just doing a symptomatic relief. So every therapy, every patient who's coming, like we discuss what is the dosha that is under imbalance, we also have to understand what is the lifestyle that he is living, what is the food that he is eating that is unhealthy, and along with that, we have to give him some advice. Make a write up. What are the aspects of dinacharya and give it to him along with your prescription. Make sure you are following this up. Nothing, there is, your sleep has to be a non-negotiable thing. See, there are sciences that produce which is yet to be published, but what they say is, we say 8 hours is enough. Even if you go to sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning, even if you sleep for 10 hours, we are going to still wake up tired, because our body is connected to the earth's magnetic field. And after the sunset, if you can go to sleep and if you get up early in the morning before the sunrise, there is no powerful healing therapy and a purification therapy than going to bed on time and sleeping and having a good rest. Now this has to become a part of our therapy and aspects of dinacharya, nasyam. So many people are dying of heart attack because sleep apnea is a big trigger, because when there is sleep apnea, they are not well oxygenated. And when they are not well oxygenated, what happens? The heart has to function more. So when you incorporate them, do nasyam. It could be saline water, it could be anutailam, but make it a point to bring it into their lifestyle. Now these things has to become, just like we get up and wash our or brush our teeth. The same concept of nasyam, like Pradimarsha nasyam, it has to become a part of their daily lifestyle. So every patient that is coming, this has to become our natural prescription. So read Dinacharya and read Ritucharya, and also read the chapter on Roganutpadanim, which are talking about the Vegas. And our duty is, how can we put this back? And always remember, as long as we are changing the lifestyle of a person, only then we are really going to the fundamental principles of Ayurveda. If you are just prescribing the medicines, we are just a glorified symptomatic relief doctors. So this is where my importance of giving this talk, that this is and future of healthcare is how efficiently we can change a person's lifestyle, because we are not worried about many of the diseases where people used to die in the past, and that situation has changed. And Western medicine developed where there were people dying of infectious disease. See, the Western medicine is humanity's answer to the question, how can I add more years to my life? Because when people were dying, they wanted to find, how can I save a person's life? Nothing else, that's it. But Ayurveda is an answer to humanity's question, how can I add more life to my years? There is no point just in living. You need vitality. You need good health. That is why it is mentioned, without good health, no matter what you have, it is good for nothing. So Ayurveda is the future when it comes to lifestyle disorders. And we are still scratching the tip of the iceberg when it comes to that. There is so much in detail we have to get into the Roganutpadaniya chapter, understanding the Vekas and Dinacharya and Ritucharya. And of course, Panchakarma is mentioned. We can go into detail about that. So I am happy to take few questions if there are some. Otherwise, we can finish this. So I will be ending this video. So if there is anything required, we will discuss the post.